AM show. Wherever you are, thank you for making the time to hold our hand to join us this morning on the show. We appreciate you. God bless you. Now, coming up this morning, we're going to do our usual. We'll start with our news review, and it's going to be with policy analyst with Imani Selom Brantier. He is our guest this morning. As usual, we're going to be getting into some of the topical matters up for discussion. But here are the big stories that we're bringing you today on the show. The first, support presidential activities. Now, we all know about the problems to do with Galamsey. If these people are bankrolling our politicians, what does that mean? The CDD has revealed that 9 individuals are into this Galamsey oil distribution and all of that. Where do we go from here? Per the details of that, as we are joined by Edem Senanu, an anti-graft campaigner, Dr. Kwame Asasanti, a political scientist with the University of Ghana, and Gilfred Isiama, research analyst with the CDD. But other topical matters up for discussion. We've also heard about reports of the shutdown of activities at the Registrar General's Department. So we went there to see for ourselves what exactly was happening. Jemima Owari, she'll be sharing the story of her outfit with us. But hey, our kids, they do say the darndest things. And starting from February the 5th, 2022, it's hitting us. This family show is a funny, unscripted reality comedy series created in the USA by art views, including politics, love, money, and business. And it would amaze you sometimes how the kids think and how, well, reflective they can actually be. All of this lined up for you this morning on the AM show. Why would you want to miss it? Stay with us. You've made the right choice. Up next, we bring you AM News. Stay.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM News with me, Mopita CBD. In our first story, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has been questioning the National Democratic Congress's resistance to the e-levy, describing it as misplaced. As part of government strategy to rally support for the policy, the Finance Minister says the value of mobile money and other electronic transactions keeps going up and it's necessary for government to get its fair share of revenue. He's daring the NDC to provide alternatives.
So I think the NDC stands about not having e-levy. You realize that really we are at a point in our nation's history where we need to do things differently, to be able to cross the issues that are confronting us with regards to youth employment, which affects all of us and really goes to the dignity of our people who are home, the issue of our debt, so that we can start mobilizing our own resources. But all of us contribute. I mean, the argument could be killed immediately if you say that right now, as Madam Central Region mentioned, that we have only 2.4 million people contributing taxes for the whole nation. So even for this year's budget, for example, and this is for Keck to tell his people, that if there are 21 million mobile money subscribers, so you begin to ask, what the resistance is. And then you ask us why we are bringing that. And you says, virtual business is now becoming the order of the day. So, for example, we had 78 billion CDs of transfers in 2016. In 2021, the year we've just left, it was 900 shifting. So in the same way in which we abolished certain nuisance taxes because they were not relevant and we needed people to be energized, the realization that the economy is shifting. And if it is shifting, then when do we get a head start at it to begin to understand that business and also, therefore, to be able to raise the revenue required because you can see 78 coming. And the opportunity, therefore, with digitalization to also then move to all of us being a part of it, and this sense that, this is pernicious, etc., you then ask your opposition people exactly where we are going to get this type of resources, in an economy that is growing, that is getting enhanced.
Meanwhile, the minority in Parliament is demanding the immediate dismissal of the Finance Minister, Keno Foriata, who they claim is behind the country's economic woes. According to the minority, that's the only way out for government to revive the tattered economy. Isaac Adongo is Deputy Ranking Member of the Finance Committee. Apologies for that loss in sound. Away from the e-levy, Director for Tertiary Education at the Ministry of Education, Dr. Eric Nkansa, says Ghana's gross tertiary enrollment ratio, GTER, has increased from 18.84% to 20%. He reveals the increase shows Ghana is making a steady progress towards its realization.
On behalf of the Education Minister, Dr. Yaw Educhum, at this year's University for Development Studies Hamilton School in Tamale, Dr. Nkansa said studies show about 60% GDP in developed countries is mostly contributed by the workforce with some form of tertiary education.
Ghana's gross tertiary enrollment ratio, as of the beginning of last year, stood at 18.84%, which significantly fell short of the target of 25%, 2013. This has a significant effect on producing a quality workforce across the various sectors of the economy, and ultimately Ghana's GDP growth.
The Vice Chancellor of the UDS, Professor Gabriel Eyumte, on his part, raised concerns over the lagging behind
in the provision of quality education to all children in the country. Some of the major challenges confronting Ghana include inadequate classrooms, libraries, laboratories, supply of trained teachers, especially in the villages, among others. This makes the teaching and learning very difficult for the teachers and the students. I am confident that this year's Hamilton School will discuss these challenges, among others. And
Hassan Shaibu called on the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, to consider suspending the ongoing strike.
The universities can also help to address some of our national challenges, such as youth unemployment, by designing and running programs that can equip the youth that has been called on by other bodies to appeal to our lecturers to return to work.
For Institute of Interdisciplinary Research at the UDS, Dr. Abdullahi Abubakari said the Hamilton School is an annual event organized by the university to enable stakeholders discuss important issues
for Interdisciplinary Research on behalf of University for Development Studies. The school is a platform that brings together academia, entrepreneurs, NGOs and civil society organizations, policy makers and policy implementers, and people from the grassroots home.
The Paramount Chief of Pangnai in the Northern Region has served notice that only persons with knowledge in information and communication technology would be allowed to occupy traditional leadership roles. Pandai Ura Nana Bresiam Okra Otoso II has also given an ultimatum to chiefs in his traditional area to acquire ICT skills or risk losing their stalls. Ohimiteria has
Akam krotua hodoa afa na ofifiri sin ewo mpuntuo mu. Esan ahokyera ewo Pandai mansiri mu nti.
For the position of District Chief Executive for the 5th consecutive time, Juliana Pedekpo, who was the 3rd nominee for the position, polled 9 yes votes against 10 no votes when she was presented to the Assembly for confirmation on Wednesday. The Assembly members appeared to the local government ministry to do a wider consultation with stakeholders before nominating anybody for the position.
The nominee appointment of government appointees were revoked and 6 new appointees were sworn in. The Volta Regional Minister, Dr. Archibald Lecha, who has been acting as DCE for Adaklu, appealed to the Assembly members to confirm the nominee to reduce his workload.
I will be very happy anymore, and so that I can hand over to her and also concentrate on my job. I am appealing because the choice is yours. Nobody can coerce you, but we are only pleading and appealing to you to approve the nominee for us today. Over to you. And at this juncture, I have the honor and the privilege to introduce to you the President's nominee for the position of DC Adaklu, the person of Juliana Bedeko.
This plea, however, fell on deaf ears. 10 of the Assembly members voted against the nominee, while 9 voted in her favor. This is the 5th time that the District Assembly is rejecting the President's DCE nominee in the 2nd term of the New Patriotic Party. So far, 3 nominees have been rejected, but wider consultation is done before the next nominee is selected.
It is important for us to cross this bridge, and I believe one of the things we have to do, which will enable us to end the brouhaha about our DCE confirmation in the district, hectic period for us, and we promise sincerely that if this is done, I can assure government that we'll be able to confirm the next person they bring to this house without any difficulty.
Nonetheless, the Akachi North District Assembly finally approved a nominee to occupy the DCE position after several attempts. Ofosu Simon 4 no votes on Wednesday when he was presented to the Assembly. There was a rejected ballot. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News, Adaklu, Waya.
14 microseries undertook 6 months of incubation at the Kumasi Hive, Recycle Up Ghana, Hopper Space and Women's Haven. There's more in this report.
An enterprise opportunities in Ghana, Green Project, is a 4-year project implemented in the Ashanti and Western regions of Ghana. The project is an European Union-funded program that SNV Ghana is implementing with the United Nations Capital Development Fund. The project seeks to support the development, addressing the participants in Kumasi, officer in charge of incubation and acceleration at the SNV, Genevieve Parker-Chum, noted that the SNV will continue to build the capacity of the beneficiaries.
And even though they are graduating today, we continue to support them. It's really helping them to be investment ready. So financial management, helping to build on their financial management skills, providing tools and resources for them to be able to improve their access to funds, continue to provide opportunities for market expansion for them. So trade shows, exhibitions, we continue to invite them to, showcase their products through different platforms and different opportunities that come our way. So they will continue to be in the family even.
Now open for the 3rd SNV incubation program, which will be an all-female cohort.
The next cohort that will be running this year, we are working on an all-female cohort. We are looking still at businesses in agriculture, renewable energy, and water sanitation and hygiene, including ways to focus on them and help them to grow their businesses. We realize that many of the businesses that we meet in the communities are led by females, but they struggle to make the time for programs like incubation and all that. So usually you'd find that a lot more men are attending. At this time, we want to do things differently and we want to see how we can bring the support to the women and help them to grow their businesses. So
incubation with Recycle Up Ghana, and it was very, very fantastic. So talking about business management, business analytics, marketing strategies, all the bookkeepings, record keepings, supervision, human resource management, funding processes, funding acquisition, and especially networking.
Their program is good, and it has helped us a lot. Even the records keeping, I should say it, documentary.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
Well, after the news, we bring you more in terms of what the newspapers are saying and the social media portals as well. Thank you for staying with us. Time now for the news review. We'll be joined by Selom Brantier, Policy View. So let's get right into it. We'll start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. And it says, sensitize border communities to safety, CDD to security agencies. And we have Lands Ministry supports Minerals Commission with 20 vehicles. There's financing development projects. We can't avoid taxes. That's according to the president. And Time is saying there's also this very interesting one about the court reinstating Professor Avoke. I'll be getting into some of those details shortly. So sensitize border communities to safety. That's the CDD urging security agencies. That story is has called on the security agencies to step up the sensitization of residents of border communities to help increase the level of awareness of security issues in the wake of growing political instability in West Africa. We know of what has happened, the domino effect, Guinea, Mali, now Burkina Faso, the failed attempt in Guinea-Bissau. And of course, when all of these things are happening in the sub-region, we must be cautious and ensure that we don't fall victim monitoring findings for October, November, and December 2021 under its Enhancing Citizens' Participation in Border Security project. And this is something that our security apparatus actually supports. Now, the report indicated that the current security situation in selected border communities was generally calm, with a few reported criminal cases that had received the attention of the security agencies. Let's now move on and talk about financing development, by which the government can raise money to finance development projects, is taxation. And I quote him here. He says, "We ourselves will have to find the money for our development, and that is the reason it has become necessary for us to introduce the famous tax which has caused so much disputation," he said. Of course, he was making reference to the e-levy, and whether it is famous, that is another matter altogether, maybe infamous, if you want to say. But the introduction of the e-levy, he said, was necessary for the government, since the country could not continue forever to be dependent on foreign grants and loans to keep the economy going. And so that is the bit there in reference to that specific story. And it is corroborated on page 16, time to fund development from within. That's according to Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. Let me quickly get to that story on page 16 of the Daily Graphic newspaper. And the Minister of Finance, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, has given an assurance that the actualization of the new tax measure, the electronic levy, remains very important to support the country's debt management for residents of the Western and Central regions. The Minister of Finance, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, said, and I quote him here, "The time has come for us to collect our own money to enable us to do what we intend to do." He said government had proposed the 1.75% on electronic cash transfers to help reduce the country's debt and deficit, while enabling it to fund the growing demands of the Ghanaian people. All right, so those are some of the stories in there. Another interesting one. After all this while, we go back to the University of Education, Winneba, and there's a rather interesting development there. It has to do with Professor Avoke being reinstated. And a High Court in Winneba has ordered the reinstatement of the dismissed Vice-Chancellor of the University of Education, Winneba, Professor Mawuto Avoke. The court, presided over by Justice Abuaje Tando, yesterday also ordered the UEW to reinstate 5 principal officers of the university who were dismissed together with Professor Avoke in August. Served as Vice-Chancellor to restore me to the office to serve the remainder of my interrupted term as Vice-Chancellor. Consequently, I genuinely expect that in the coming days, I will return to the office and perform all the duties that come with the office of Vice-Chancellor for the next 2 years. While I consider this judicial determination a total and final vindication of my position regarding the divisive issues that founded my removal from office, I am clear and certain in my mind that I will not boast over the outcome, no matter how relieving and joyous the judgment may seem. And so those are some developments in the Daily graphic newspaper. When you look at the graphic business in the center spread, Momo transactions fall to 82 Ghana cedis. That is 82 billion Ghana cedis in December. So here are some details for you. Basically, a Bank of Ghana report on electronic transactions showed that the value of Momo transactions fell to 82.9 billion Ghana cedis in December from the 86.1 billion recorded in the period under review. The value of the decline was 3.2 billion, representing a 3.7% decrease. So it just gets me thinking. With all the talk about the e-levy and all of that, we're experiencing this, decline, even when the e-levy hasn't kicked in. Are we going to go the way of Uganda? Just thinking aloud. Time will tell. Of course, we've seen that purported statement from the GRA with their head, Reverend Amishadai, signing it, purporting that banks would soon have to comply with the e-levy in anticipation of its passage into law. So how is that going to pan out? On the back page of the Daily Graphic newspaper, Salah's magic to end Cameroon's run. That's an interesting turn there. And of course, they have to get past the hurdle of beating the indomitable Lions. Are they going to dominate the indomitable Lions? And if they can, then it will be quite a mouth-watering final, won't it? Because we would have Sadio Mane facing off with his own colleague at Liverpool, Mo Salah. Well, let me get to Selim Brantia, who is with us now via Zoom. Selim, good morning.
Good morning to you and all your viewers.
Right. It's rather faint, your voice. I can't hear you too well. I don't know whether it's from our end or yours. Can you hear me?
Is it better now? Can you hear me?
I can hear you faintly.
Wow.
All right.
Okay, because I think from my side, I have not adjusted anything.
Right. It's better now, Selim. It's better. Thank you for joining the conversation. Let's quickly get down to it. Quite a number of things I want to run by you. But let's start with financing development projects. We've been told about the e-levy. Mr. President has added his voice forcefully to it. In the Daily Graphic, we have both the President and Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta saying, we need the e-levy. The discourse has gone on and on. It's interesting, though, because we've cited a recent document from the Ghana Revenue Authority, or at least purported to come from this. It's dated the 31st of January. Just a sec, Salom. It's dated the 31st of January, and it talks about preparations towards the implementation of the electronic transfer levy in a phased approach. It goes on with... are you saying something, Salom?
No.
Okay. I kept getting feedback. So it says, the government of Ghana, through its 2022 budget statement, intends to introduce an electronic transfer levy on all applicable electronic transfers. As you may be aware, the electronic transfer levy bill is under consideration by Parliament. While we await the passage of the bill into law, I wish to inform you to hold yourself in readiness for the implementation of the levy in 3 phases as soon as the bill is passed into law. The GRA is developing a monitoring platform for the full implementation of the e-levy and would be inviting you to collaborate with this tech. This is actually from the GRA because it's a sourced document. But if this turns out to be true, what would be your reaction? It would imply that we're already kicking towards it, whether we like it or not. The plan is there.
It's like the president and the finance minister are trying to look beyond what's happening in Parliament to look at a full implementation of the e-levy. So I think for them, they are assuming that Parliament is going to pass it if their actions or their statements are right, as per what you just mentioned. They are just preparing to implement. However, for all of us who are observing the happenings, it is a bit disconcerting. Apart from the proponents themselves, for this particular levy, as far as this particular levy is concerned, it looks like they are bent on passing it, or they are hell bent on ensuring that it is going to be implemented come hell or high water. Right. And for us, the issue here is that there's a complete disregard for any other alternative that could be looked at in terms of fiscal prudence. A lot of people are now saying, for example, or a lot of experts are now saying that really going back to the IMF or going back for to look at fiscal prudence or other measures is not something that should be so far-fetched. And this still a lot of power by the government to see this through. As to whether it is going to reap the rewards that is they are anticipating, it's even a whole other story. Because I link it to the other news story about the dip in Momo transactions over December. And it is very significant for one thing, because December is the time when, because of the Yuletide and then the Christmas season, a lot of people actually do send remittances back and forth. For it to have dipped at a time when it should have actually peaked or had the highest, number of transactions, speaks volumes about what people feel and what people are speculating. And I was in Uganda, incidentally, on the day they introduced their Momo tax. I think that was back in 2018 or 2017. And that day, the first day of implementation, it was crazy. The number of Momo transactions went so low that the central bank governor in Uganda had to come out the next day, and the finance minister had to come out the initial approach, because the dip in transactions was so huge that it affected the economy itself. It was very clear that the economy wasn't going to run, and people were not going to run a lot of their transactions by Momo anymore. A lot of the mobile money places in Kampala, where I was, actually shut down that day and would not do any transfers because of the monies that they would lose. It was a very, very crazy scenario, and I don't think we want to repeat that here. And there's a lot of empirical evidence, even across Africa itself, that shows that the implementation of the tax did not achieve the results as was intended. So I've heard estimates even say that the highest they can make from this tax annually would not even reach the 7 billion target. But
we've heard some of them, like Dr. Esibe Yeboah, who has headed their finance team in Parliament, the committee. He has said that the best they can get out of it is 5 billion from what he sees. And he is suggesting, rather, that we go to the IMF to secure some close to 3 billion, which is actually a possibility. How do you react to that? In how Bokpin also has been saying, he has said, and I quote him here, in respect of the e-levy bill, a spoiled child needs discipline, not more money. How do you put that side by side?
I mean, these are experts. These are people who have also had enough experience in the economy, familiar with these, much more than any politician would. And these are the people that should have been consulted extensively before such a policy was rolled out. I think it is like a drowning man clutching at straws, trying to prevent himself from being disciplined. We have not addressed the elephant in the room, which is a huge expenditure bill that we have, which is the huge flagship projects that we have, which do not have a direct economic impact in terms of improving productivity. We have not looked at the fact that there is huge amounts of wastage, and as much as set in the system, huge efficiencies that need to be cleared and fixed. And without all of these, it is like pouring water into a basket and expecting to carry it for like about 500 meters. We are not solving the problem trying to impose more tax shocks, very huge economic shocks. We are having increasing inflation, etc. This is not a time to actually burden taxpayers when the value of their real money is reducing by such a draconian tax. And I don't understand what is still informing the president and the finance minister that this is the most prudent measure in the face of the huge opposition from the public.
I mean, there are other things to look at. We do need to shore up our economy. When you look at the exchange rates, for example, it's inching towards 9 cedis, to the dollar. To the pound, I beg your pardon. If you look at the dollar, the euro rate, they are also inching very high, 8, something, 6 point something. So it's pretty complicated. Comfort for you at all? Very briefly on this one, very briefly. Is there no comfort for you when Ken Ofori-Atta, finance minister, says we will account for e-levy? That's what is splashed on the front page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Ken Ofori-Atta, he says, whether account to you, we're going to account the percentages we've allotted to them. We shall account. Selam.
I mean, what about all the other things that have been splurged on? Have they accounted for any of that? Has there been any clear accountability that would come up and try and defend? This is not a time for us to build castles in the sky. This is a time for us to really look at what we have done, look at our track record, look at discipline. We need it. We are just trying to postpone a problem instead of solve it. So we better tackle it head on, solve it now, and then look for other luxuries later on.
All right, let me link two stories that I'd like us to look at. On page 4 of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, there is talk about MPs have spoken about it forcefully. And then in the Daily Guide newspaper, it also says MPP slams NDC coup rhetoric. And the Majority Chief Whip, Frank Anodomfre, took a swipe at the NDC's minority in Parliament yesterday for their supposed pro-coup rhetoric on the floor of the House after the abortive coup in Guinea-Bissau. Now, some of the opposition lawmakers, while condemning recent coups in the West African sub-region, justified the feeding fat at the expense of the poor, engaging in cronyism and nepotism and bad leadership. What do you make of this? I mean, we've spoken about the banter, the push back and the push forward between the majority and the minority. But this bit on, the re-emergence of coups in West Africa and what the minority is saying, do they have a point? Are they misleading us?
We all need to be very concerned about the fact that there are so many coups happening. It means that military adventurism is becoming fashionable. And one of the things that happens is that it's an associated level of instability. Whether you like it or not, whether even the people in the countries like the popular sentiment or not, it creates some level of insecurity, some level of lack of continuity of governance. And this can distort any economy. I will support such a thing, seeing that we have run this democratic dispensation for 30 years now. What really we need to look at are the warning signs and public perception about the fact that this democratic dispensation that we have has created a caste or a ruling elite that seems to be milking others with and manipulating many different areas of redress where their excesses could be checked. So, for example, there is a lot of public perception that certain people, whether in private or public space, are untouchables because even to the parliament. And it is not a very, very healthy sign that this kind of perception has been allowed to be cemented by what we see currently, where you have certain people who act like they are above the law. And this will only deepen that perception and create that dissatisfaction that the NDC faction in Parliament was talking about. And let us decide that we really need to step up our game on curbing polypreneurs or people who are favored above the others for the same infractions. We are going to have this kind of sentiment brewing for quite a while, and it will turn on its head. But I don't think it is something that will happen in the very near future. We have always been an island in West Africa. I mean, Ghana has always been an island in West Africa in terms of political.
What do we do to maintain that stability as the bastion of democracy and as a haven of peace, if you like, in the West African sub-region? Mind you, we saw what happened in Kenya only a few years ago. We're not trying to be pessimistic or doomsayers or naysayers, but you can never take anything for granted, can you, when it comes to what is happening in the sub-region?
No, you can't. That's why we have to be proactive. We really have to have a commitment to more often. Then that perception will seep in and that dissatisfaction will come. And then the only outlet will be something that we would all not want to see happen.
Let's get into, before we get into another rather major one, the CDD's latest report in terms of political party financing. I'd like to just take a swipe at this story. And I think it's one too many. That's why I'm addressing it. February the 1st, 2022 at about 3:45 p.m. And it had to do with a fire that gutted a house at T compound near the master's flat of the Takrady Technical Institute at Efiakuma It had another family, in fact, people I know, the whole family taken away, about 4 or 5 of them. And now this one as well. And I think it's becoming one too many. fire, an entire family gone. I don't know what systems we have. Yesterday we were blocking the way in a way, but I don't know what our systems are really. I mean, we have a fair idea, but it's...
The biggest problem here, I think, is that we have very few building inspectors. There are so many building codes and bylaws that need to be observed. For example, you cannot build a wall 2 meters from the wall of the actual building. You have people infringing on a lot of these building codes. You have certain ways you should do your windows, for example. A lot of the family fire disasters that I see, one of the biggest things is the burglar proofs. We build burglar proofs that are actually prisons, and we don't have emergency escapes in very big buildings. For example, you have a story building housing maybe 7 or 8 bedrooms, and there's only one escape or anything designed because we have, refused to follow building codes. And the building inspectors are not there to check some of these things. So when these disasters happen, you realize that even though there were people ready to help, or even there could have been a chance for rescue, there was no option for that. We have some of these things enforced so that at least no matter what, maybe a couple of lives more might be saved because each life is priceless.
Right. Let's move on to the issue of political party financing in our country, and that has become a veritable albatross round our necks, because if we're going to talk corruption, look at across the spectrum, even in the United States, they've had their own issues when it comes to financing political parties or financing some very interesting points. It's a very curious read. Now, it talks about the fact that in terms of our political party financing, the more tangible sources of campaign financing are coming from campaign financiers, some of whom are engaged in serious and organized crime activities. Some of them are in galamsey, from the illicit angle. It looks at elections and focusing on the 2 major political parties, NDC and NPP, spanning the elections from 2000 to 2016, which show that the source of campaign financing is, it talks about the rising cost of running for political office. And just to give you a breakdown, Selom, assuming you haven't seen some details of the document already, less than 1% of funding for campaign, that is political activity, originated from membership dues or subscriptions. Less than 1% from the grassroots. This contradicts the nearly 50% comes from the grassroots, membership and all of that. That apparently is not exactly the case. The biggest contributions are coming from special interests, particularly business people who support the party of their businesses. And to wrap, there are 9 financiers who have been found to be involved in illicit and serious organized crime-related activities. How do you see on the back of this report?
Yeah, this is very reflective. I'm sure that this perception, a lot of perception that's bubbling, built up to such a study. And it is very clear that our politics, or our partisan politics in Ghana now, has become very mercantile. You have always seen prominently or rumored to be financing quite a lot of, let's say, parliamentarians, quite a lot of ministers. And then suddenly, when their favored government comes into power, these people become big superstars.
And get away with it.
Exactly, and they seem to have, like I said in earlier discussions, they seem to have everybody in their pockets, and then they cement that perception of an elite that cannot, not exactly very clear or very right in terms of their legality. And buying these politicians and having them in their pockets is the easiest way to maintain the status quo, as it were. But then all of it just is because there's a lack of willingness to enforce any. I'll bet my last penny that neither the NDC nor the NPP, minority or majority in parliament, is ready to enforce or propose any bill that will seriously put more money or pledge more money into political party financing, just as a smokescreen to be able to get more money for some of these activities.
In fact, Selom, when the general secretaries or the CEOs of both parties were there, and they couldn't say anything, hands and money are tainted. They said, well, as I heard Esiedun Ketia say, you can't tell when someone comes to you that this is, I mean, let's say cocaine money or galamsey money or something. The person doesn't come saying when we have what we have in our constitution in terms of political party financing.
No, because when you even send money to the bank as an individual, as a company, you have to declare the source of the funds, or you are obliged to declare the source of your. And it is because we sat down and then allowed or pampered them and allowed them to go scot-free. And therefore, they are using those loopholes. And the fact that both the opposition and then the party in power is in their both their interest not to push this beyond what these discussion boards or what the CSOs would say. Right. And though that is incentive coming from inside, it will only be an external influence that will be overriding and extremely, and we will reach a certain point where by the next 3 election cycles, this figure of 100 million will not even be enough, because it's a whole value chain issue from primaries looking transport fare, but they want their rooms furnished with electronic gadgets and mobile phones and their bank accounts and giving watts of cash. Right. That expression is everybody sees what benefits the party financiers get and are ready to also try and tap into that kind of space. Right. And it means that they'll save more for these purposes, which that by the judges when they go to court, or by the executive in terms of arrests and things like that when they conduct the activities. So it's a vicious cycle that unfortunately is
what the report says. The cost of politics in Ghana is prohibitively high and notably increasing. The estimated cost of politics established from the study is much higher than previously reported estimations. Mind you, according to this, ranging from 40,000 Ghana cedis to 11.5 million Ghana cedis. I'm talking $2 million. Of course, when people are giving such amounts, they will expect certain returns. The BNFT consumer confidence dipped by FBN Bank boss. Salom, thank you so much for joining the conversation. Thank you for joining us for another morning.
My pleasure. Have a nice day, people.
And we wish you the best of the day. Well, that is how we draw the curtains on the news review, but there's a lot more coming your way. Of course, Senegal. Well, after sports, don't you forget, we get into our big stories for the day. The CDD report will be on the chopping block. Stay. Well, thank you for staying with us. We get into the big stories for today. And it's a starter with money matters when it comes to our politics. A study by the Center for Democratic Development at Ghana has revealed that 9 individuals allegedly engaged in illegal mining, popularly known as galamsey, illegal oil distribution, and fraudulent business. The financiers are said to have funded the campaign with the aim of making friends to ensure the sustenance of businesses, their businesses, should the recipient of the fund win at the polls. Well, here is my colleague Joseph Akablay's report on same.
Parliamentary bid was placed at 4 million cedis, while that of presidential elections was $100 million.
The other part, which was a surprise, we didn't set out to get this data, was trying to estimate the cost to run for president. Sessions, we found, or we were told, that it will cost about $100 million. Presidential campaigns, very high up. We didn't set out to find this one, but it came to us. We think further research is needed so that we can itemize the cost to know exactly what goes into it.
9 persons alleged to be engaged in illicit trade are said to have financed the election bid of some candidates.
In terms of what we found, we identified funding to them who were engaged, who were allegedly engaged in illicit activities and funding the money back. And these financiers were engaged in illegal mining, galamsey. Ever wonder why it's so difficult, particularly in the oil city?
The political parties are not surprised but want reforms.
our expenditure as a nation has increased at all levels, from personal to institutions to political parties. So the 4 million and the 100 million, but I know that expenditures have run and there's the need to cut it.
I don't know whether I'll be able to actually say with some certainty, because nobody comes to offer funding and tells you that I'm engaging. And usually that is what they will be doing. It is only when you come to power that somebody will come and say that, well, this person, this business, help us with it and so on. So nobody will come and disclose that I kill human beings, or I'm a terrorist, so I'm coming to finance your party. Nobody will accept that type of funding. So
the CDD's Dr. Kojola Asante believes
drafted roadmap. What do we have to do and within what time frame? With all the considerations that we can put in it, so that we can have a plan that we can, as civil society, as media, we can push and say, we need to make these reforms quickly.
Only time will tell whether the needed amendments to check campaign financing will be followed.
So here we are. That was a report put together by my colleague Joseph Akablay, and it is on this very, very thorny issue when it comes to political party financing. We get into the conversation with Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, political scientist at the University of Ghana, Edem Senanu, an anti-graft campaigner, and Guilfred is
having us.
Is that Edem's voice I just heard?
I believe so.
Right. Do we have Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante as well?
Yes, I'm here, my lord.
Wilfred, can we hear from you?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. Thank you for joining the conversation. Let me start with you, Guilfred. I've been taking a look at your research into political party financing over not just the years, the decades. In fact, I'm looking currently at your 2005 report on SANE, and the dynamics seem not to have changed much. It is candidates and those funding them giving anything between 40,000 Ghana cedis and 11.2 or 11.5 million Ghana cedis. Gargantuan sums. So over the years, what has really been the bedrock of getting into these analyses that you've done one more time?
I strongly believe that political parties play a very crucial role in our democracy. Every democracy believes in free, competitive, fair elections, and you need political parties to mobilize people to serve. So one of the crucial, because political parties are central to every democracy, we have also been interested in what political parties do, how they get their funding over the years, right. And how the whole gamut, how all these things link together. So we have been following this because it's linked to the sustainability of our democracy in this country.
So basically, are there any, even for you as the CDD who has done this time and again, is it shocking for you? Did it take you by any surprise coming across some of telling us that you're getting about half of their funding from their grassroots, party members and, other supporters, tangible people, only to find out per this report that just about 1% comes from card holding or self-acclaimed members of the parties. But in actuality, a lot of their funding is coming from other angles that we don't even know of. Then we talk about the sums of money involved. Did it come as any surprise?
We haven't done anything fundamentally about the funding of political parties from the first time we did our research.
Right.
Membership funding for membership base has always been the weak link. And since nothing has changed over the years, and political party expenditure is increasing over the years, parties, is the fact that you have a lot of people who identify themselves with these political parties. But when it comes to those who have registered as card-bearing members, you have few of them. And even within this bracket, you have few people who are willing to challenge with this problem is that our political parties are also becoming more or less like electoral machines. they are more focused on winning elections than mobilizing or canvassing their membership for them to believe in their programs and ideas and for them to own those political parties. Higher funding of their political parties has not been matched, and expenditure is increasing.
Right.
So I think it is expected that we have this kind of challenge at this time, even though the amount and the figures involved is shocking. And it's shocking because if you look at the expenditure to be a member of parliament, when you combine the 4-year salary of an MP with allowances upon themselves to even go to the next election. So it is very surprising.
Indeed, very surprising. Let me come to Dr. Asa Asante, and I want to look at a few aspects of our constitution, especially in respect of what we are talking about, the 500 and myriad aspects, even talking about the assets and liabilities of our political parties. I just want to get to the bit about political party funding, which I shall get to shortly. But it is clear that when it comes to the funding of political parties, there will be no contribution by non-citizens. A citizen may contribute in cash or kind to the funds of a political party. A firm, partnership, or enterprise owned by a citizen or a company registered under the laws of the Republic, at least 75% of whose capital is owned by a citizen, is for the purposes of this act a citizen. Now, in terms of non-contributions by non-citizens, for example, it talks about the fact that non-citizens shall not directly or indirectly make contributions or donations or loans, whether in cash or in kind, to the funds held by or for the benefit of. We're firing a miss because this is not really taking effect, and the political parties, per this report, are getting funds from all sorts of places, which will lead to influencing them while they're in power. So I start with you, Doc. Did this come as any surprise to you, especially in the context of our constitution and what it says?
Well, not at all. I'm sure you are alive with my statements that I've been making on, networks, various networks about this has been with us time immemorial, except that the state has not taken the trouble to deal with it head on. There are reports which have been done by my department, Professor Kwame Ninsing and then Professor Kofi Kumado. They did great job on this work, and except that they remain on the decks up to date. Sorry. The stark reality is that
when you say they remain on the desks, just briefly, are you suggesting these reports are submitted to those in officialdom and nothing is done about them? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, definitely. When they did those work, they circulated it, as far as I can remember, to a lot of institutions, as it were, are not working. So you can really understand this. Part of the problem is that the work that the university does in terms of their research, which institutions make use of them? I mean, that is another disconnect that we have. But that aside, when you look at democracy, it is anchored on political parties and their activities. So if a state wants to firm its democracy, there's the need for the state to be able to strengthen the frontiers of political party activities and make sure that they work to perfection. It is on this basis that we have the laws that you have read and provide the support that we need for this democracy. Unfortunately, we have not been able to get this simply because, one, there is a lack of political will on the part of holders of political power. They come with all manner of promises, slogans, and all that. And when it comes to the real implementation of what the policies, I'm afraid they shy away. Why are we saying that? Because if you look at the factors that determine voter choices in this country, one of it, the third one, of course, is what the fight against corruption. So they will come and deal with corruption, but only to come to office and realize that they have nothing to help us to deal with this issue. It's very, very unfortunate. What is more is that when you allow this system to exist for a very long time, then you create all manner of groups or networks that come to affect the political system. Take, for instance, the findings by CDD that there are a number of groups who are funding political parties, and they are doing a lot of illicit businesses and all that. Then I ask my people who are doing illicit businesses and still funding political parties. So what would be your will to deal with those people when they cross the line? You know them. as people who are in this business, and you only pretend that you have the right people to finance the parties and so forth and so on. That hypocritical position on the part of leadership of political parties is unfair to us, because this is a democracy that we have sacrificed all things in order to make it work. And when people want to sabotage the process, very, very worrying and very unfortunate.
Curious question, Doc. You know, it's clear from the politics of things, international relations, usually politicians, when they have a situation that favors them against the masses, it will take something to get them to really change or reform, because the situation favors them. Why will they change it? Do you think it is time we really pushed hard on our politicians to tweak our laws, especially in this respect? We have the 2010 Constitution, or the acts, and what is being applied are in sharp contrast.
Yeah, we need 2 or 3 things. One, we need the laws to be in place, which already we have some, but we need to broaden it. For instance, if you look at advanced democracies such as America, there is a certain threshold that people cannot go beyond if you are funding a political party as an individual. Beyond that, you go to jail. If you are a group, there is a certain threshold that you cannot go past. If you cross that line, you are going to jail. In addition to this, what they do is that people who fund a political party in this country, if we want to deal with corruption head on, that is why I'm saying that we are deliberately saying that we want to fight corruption. But deep down our hearts, we are not ready for it, because there are better examples around us that we can borrow from, but we are not doing. And the issue of lack of political will is crucial. The political parties don't have the will to fight corruption. Look at the existing laws on even declaration of assets. For me, it's meaningless. It doesn't point to anything, but we still maintain this thing in the books, and then tell the public that we are in to support the fight against corruption. I believe that is nothing but
you by any surprise, because over the years we've had these reports come in from different groupings. I've looked at so many of these reports from so many different institutions, not just the CDD. But look at the most recent corruption perception index. When you go to point 4 of what it says about dealing with corruption-related issues, it says, improve transparency and accountability in political party and campaign financing. And it goes on to say, the EC should be accountable to ensure the enforcement of the Political Parties Act, which I just cited, 2000, especially Section 21, which relates to the disclosure of funding sources by political parties. Parliament should also amend Act 574 to include problem, so to speak. And how surprised are you at the latest figures?
Well, thank you very much. Not too surprised. I think that over the course of the last 5 years plus, there's been increasing discussion around the subject matter of the need for some constitutional changes, as well as political party campaign and financing, tightening it up. So, and the figures have always been staggering. I mean, whenever we've talked about this, it's been clear that the monetization of these processes has been skyrocketing. It's another messes we get ourselves in, because once you get into government, then you are in a position where you have to pay off people, you're having to make deals that ordinarily would not be the case. So not surprising. I think that the part of the discussion where we probably should focus some more is of Ghanaians that, look, there are some changes that are so fundamental. If we don't make them now, looking at the insecurity we are seeing in the West African zone, how does this all translate into how it impacts on citizens and how they are feeling? There are very critical issues and actions we ought to be talking about now. And how we carry many more voices on to get the political elite and government to make those changes, I think is the issue.
It is, in fact, interesting how we look at political party campaigning. I am looking at very recent stories. I am looking at a story, and this one is rather interesting when it comes to this. Let me just get to that story about Steve McLaughlin, a Republican county executive and former state lawmaker who is accused of using campaign funds to pay a personal debt. So in these jurisdictions, even the funding must be used for the specific purpose and nothing else. You must account for the source of funding and you must use the funds for a specific purpose. Looking at what we are seeing currently, changes we need. Do you see that? And I pose that question to you, Adam, on the back of what we've heard the politicians say after this report was released. We've heard things like, oh, but we don't even know these people who come to us. We don't know their sources of funding. Will someone come to you and say, I sacrifice human beings and that's how I get my money and then I give you the money? No, when they come, they don't say that. Do you see that political will in there?
No, there's no political will to do this. And it's the reason why we need to change the architecture, have a law that is clear-cut in terms of who is going to execute and how, citizen groups and other entities can be involved in this process. They don't have the political will. That's more than evident. If they did, even between the Electoral Commission, that's supposed to be requiring annual audited reports, it's not happening. And so we need to rethink that whole architecture, well defined by law. So you don't have a situation where 3-4 years they are campaigning, because that's what they're doing, running around the country, expending resources, driving in V8s and making a bill for us. And then let's cut it down. Let's say 6 months of the election year or 9 months of the election year. So we get into 2024, and then it's from June or it's from March. That's one. Then the issue of ceilings. So let's cut it and say individuals no more than 5,000, corporates not more than 25,000 or whatever, so that then we can track. And then it compels you to have a message that people can buy into, and therefore when they are funding, we know that, look, it is because we believe in your message, not because you've gone around trying to compel corporates and whatnot to give you money. Otherwise, their businesses will be shut down after they will enforce outside the political elite themselves. Otherwise, we're not going to make any changes. And truly speaking, I think that the starting point again will be the constitutional changes to tighten up some of these gaps that we have recognized in the lifespan of the current 1992 Constitution.
Guilfred, let me come to you. So I know you used a 3-tier approach in terms of this research piece that you've put together. And it evinces that between the year 2000 and 2016, not much has changed in terms of political party campaign financing. Maybe what has changed is the figures that we are seeing. They are ballooning. They are becoming greater and greater. Your report also says the more tangible sources of campaign financing are coming from campaign financiers, some of whom are engaged in serious and organized crime activities. You mentioned illegal money to put out such information.
Also, as we indicated, the exploratory part was informed by our desk study and some key informants. So This is a pure qualitative work. So we had to do some background work to identify key people who also recommended some people that we could speak to. So that's how we came by these figures. And, it is very difficult for you to just go out there and get some of these people. You just need to work through identify people who have been funding political parties and at the same time are engaged in some serious organized crime activities.
Right. Let me take you up on this bit as well, because I know the political parties will push back on this. Over time, we've been told by the political parties that about 50% of their 8% of the funding for campaigns actually comes from the grassroots or card-bearing members or all of that. I mean, what pool of people were you looking at? How do you substantiate this when the political parties say this is not true?
Well, so I think one thing needs to be clear. We haven't seen any political party actually banking the results of from the work that we have done. And surprisingly, if you want to say so, these political parties have rather embraced the challenge. We have had many of them over the past years, huge, that they can't contain. You can refer to the Speaker of Parliament. You can refer to the Majority Leader, Osei Mensah-Bonsu. You can refer to a lot of them. So the issue about contestation when it comes to the cost and even the source, and it is very clear, the figures we came about through research. We've done a lot of research, and you can even refer to leading to the 2016 elections and a lot of other research. I think Dr. Asante has also done some research, and many other people who have done research on this issue. Funding from registered political party members is probably the lowest. So the other source of funding that you may talk about from membership of the party are individual members. One of the biggest challenges so far as the funding is concerned is that people push a lot of resources to individual candidates, and those funding do not run through the political party structures. And yesterday during the dissemination, these political parties confirmed that people prefer to run their resources through them. Registered members who are contributing to the party remains the least source of funding for these political parties. And I think that is not in contention.
I will put this question. 2 key points from the CDD research piece. It points to the fact that the Electoral Commission itself, so both at the party level and at the higher level, national level with the Electoral Commission, the cost of filing fees have increased by about 500%, and they are also contributing to the rising cost of politics in Ghana. Put that side by side with the fact that a regular member of parliament, for example, trying to contest in, let's say, election 2024, would have to nurture his constituency. Where nurturing means you're going to your constituency, you are, engaging the people. There are certain things they may need. You are also helping here and there to make yourself visible. You are looking at about 2 million Ghana cedis in about a span of 3 years. So one election has ended. In the next 3 years, you will spend about 2 million Ghana cedis. Then it comes to the contest proper, the primaries and all of that. You will spend another 2 million Ghana cedis, making 4 million Ghana cedis expected of you, or around $693,000. With all of these, and even the Electoral Commission itself, what it requires being such a problem, what do you see to be the way forward out of this mud that we are stuck in, Adam?
Well, I think that some of the discussions we've held here this morning give some inkling as to what we could be doing. I'm clear in my mind that if we stuck to the law, have a campaign season, and try and make sure that you don't have a situation where because some candidates are compromising the situation by giving gifts and handouts because they can afford it, they have illicit sources, others are compelled to do so. Enforcement of the law, especially when it comes to the bribing and the influencing of electoral, electorates in respect of their voting, vote buying, so to speak. That in itself would cut down. I mean, if we're enforcing the law and you are arresting and penalizing people who have been engaged in vote buying, automatically, over a certain period, people will stop these kind of monetization of the processes. Again, a campaign season that is well defined so that you don't feel like you must always be in campaign mode and then you are spending more would also contribute to it. I think that we also need to look very clinically at how do we come up with the figures that the Electoral Commission establishes for this. I know they say they want the serious candidates to be left, but they also, as in one way or another, fueling this challenge that we have. So what are the objective criteria being used that we can all agree on, such that we don't make it so expensive that even the more suitable and competent candidates will shy away from putting forward their candidature because they look at the figures and say, I cannot get into this. Probably those are some of the things that we call.
The law must work. But where the law is weak, we need to expand it. I have said that we need to borrow from other jurisdictions where people who fund political parties, the public get to know them, what they do, so that later when you get juicy contract, we can follow and know whether something has gone wrong or not. We need to also make sure that holders of political power, they are very honest and tell us the honest truth all the time. Why am I saying that? Because if you have leaders who are not honest, you are likely to have a situation like this on your hands. They will come tell all manner of stories. They know the people who are funding them. And they know that they are doing illicit business, yet they want them to fund them and then get to power. If we are serious about this, why worth mentioning here is that political party activities must be open. You see, there's nothing wrong opening your activities to the public. That is how it's supposed to be, because take it or leave it, political party activity is what? Public activity. So there shouldn't be any secrecy whatsoever. But when it comes to funding, you will realize that we as a people, we are even complicit in this matter, where we know that this is the things that the political parties are doing, even undermining the very institutions that we have set for ourselves, yet we cannot complain. We should have people who will be able to voice out and point these things to them that, look, this is not the way to go. So we need to be vigilant as a society. And then that culture that we have in this country, that anytime we are going for elections, we need to, something must give to, party faithful country. And you want to be influenced with goodies, with certain materials and so forth and so on. From the word go, you have compromised your stand and you are not going to get any good leadership. After all, if you should get anybody to lead you, you cannot challenge the authority of that person because the two of you are partners in crime. I'm saying this thing because it's becoming a worrying situation in this country. The time is now for us to act and act swiftly.
Right. So right before we actually put a full stop to this conversation, I'd like to find out from you, Godfred. So you have these findings. Works, I'm talking about construction of roads and buildings, and 3 of the major financiers being chiefs in the eastern region. What is going to happen to these people? I mean, the information you have makes some people complicit. Are you going to push this information to the special prosecutor, for example? Are you going to bring in the judicial system? What is going to be done with this information to ensure that it is not all talk, and we can walk on these matters? What is the CDD doing?
Well, the research is meant to solve a fundamental problem and the cause of the problem. So what we are seeking to do is reform, is to propose some measures to reform so that there wouldn't even be the need for these people to, marshal their resources to go and fund these political parties. And again, these people will not even have the chance to even do that because when they do that, they may be exposed. And it's the same thing like Dr. Asante and Adam said, when the process is transparent, we will know who is bringing what, and then we can track their activities and how they get the resources that they push into these political campaigns. So for the prosecution bit, for now, I am not sure that is the main interest why we did the research.
Are you suggesting, Godfred, it is something you are totally research and that is it, we've done our bit, when in fact you could unmask these faceless people and ensure that at least we have something we can run on? They will now have to come and defend themselves and determine that they are not involved in these things. Don't you think that's a step you should be considering?
Well, I think our main reason, the problem is bigger than these 9 people that we have identified. There could be thousands of them.
But we could start with the 9. We could start with the 9.
If you fail to address the fundamental cause of these issues, you prosecute the 9, and you still have a lot more doing the same thing. And we have seen that in this country, issues about corruption. We have seen people go to jail, 1 or 2 politicians, but we still have a lot happening. This research is to show Ghanaians the seriousness of the challenge at hand and what it takes to reform the system for the good of all of us.
Right.
So for now, as I said, let's focus on the bigger picture. Let's focus on the main issue, which is the challenges we have in funding political parties and the consequences it has for the people of Ghana and for the sustenance of our democracy. When we focus on doing, and we know the motivations for doing some of these things, but for now, let's focus on the bigger picture.
Adam, do you see eye to eye with Godfred on this point? Yes, it may be a drop in the bucket, but it is many drops of water that make that mighty ocean we speak of. If we set an example with these 9 people, with these 3 chiefs in the eastern region, with these contractors and all of that, wouldn't that send a message out there, the information to our politics?
Well, thank you very much. My approach, I understand where you're coming from, but I probably would say that what CDD has done is to alert our investigative bodies that there is something in this space. We've provided some information, go do further investigation and identify the people.
That's exactly my problem, Adam. Pardon my coming in, but that's exactly my problem. It will sit there, we are alerting, nothing will be made of it. Oh yeah, you have that information, fine. It remains on the books, nothing is done.
Well, I think that it also points to a gap we have between the collaboration you should find between civil society on one hand, or even if you took the universities and research institutions, and agencies of the state that ought to be collaborating in all these spaces. That's a major gap as a pillar of our democracy, where we have not intentionally created the platform spaces and channels for intentional collaboration between different stakeholders that can promote development and democracy. So this is one of the areas where there ought to have been an intentional platform between CDD and other such research institutions and the state institutions responsible for investigation, etc. They take it up, and we can come back after 6 months and say that they have run with it. We should not have everybody working in silos. So we need to be a lot more intentional and structured about these kind of things. And I can well understand how CDD's work for the future may totally be compromised by saying that we are a nation. So we need to find other ways of getting around the hurdle. But I think that we can still, as it were, bell the cats. I think that if we are intentional, we can work together collaboratively to get these people identified, and if they have to be sanctioned, that sanctioning also is done.
What is your take on that? Lobby, political parties, lobby political candidates and all of that. It is in the open. Is that maybe an option we should be considering in this country, so we don't have faceless elements? We know who are behind these campaigns.
Let me start off with the bits about whether we can prosecute these people or not. But that is what I want to do, and that I'm not going to share the information with the public and expose you and all that. And you turn around and then you expose them. There's an ethical dilemma here for CDD, all right, if they want to go on that tangent. But having said this, what we can do is to arrange for a roundtable discussion among the civil society groups and institutions so that they discuss the way forward. That is one. If you are talking about to have lobbyists in the system, yes, already there are some which are not professional though, but we must encourage and more people into that area so that they get these things done professionally. And then we as a people must also be vigilant. Same to the authorities, but it comes back to the question of political will. You can do research, you can even expose these people, you want to prosecute them, and here you are, the state comes in and said, well, I'm not interested in the issue. What do you do? So we need to look at how we can sit down and craft something that was from other jurisdictions to strengthen what we have to make this country a better place for democracy to thrive on.
Well, it's been insightful, as always, with you gentlemen. And my only prayer and hope is that we can do better with this report, because every few years or so we come out with these reports. And like we'll say in Nkosiaga, but hopefully there will be more made of this. Thank you very much, Gilfred Esiama, research analyst with the CDD, Dr. Kwame Asasante of the Political Science Department, University of Ghana, and my own big brother, Edem Senanu, anti-graft campaigner. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining the conversation.
Most grateful.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Right, so moving from there, we'll be bringing you next, in terms of our big stories for the day, another topical matter. We've all heard Mic check. Hello. Of a shutdown of activities at the Registrar General's department. So we went by. We took some time to go by and interact with some of those affected, but not just those affected, to interact as well with the Registrar General herself, Mrs. Jemima Owari. This is what we came up with, but we're going to start with what the people had to say at the Registrar General's department. Here today.
I've been here almost about an hour and a half ago.
An hour and a half now?
An hour and a half ago, yeah, just to register my company. So it's in the process. I think the approval has been done. I'm waiting for the printing. But about some 30 minutes ago, we're told that the system is down and it will be restored in an hour's time. So looking at where we are coming from, it's better you sit and wait for the system to be restored and your issue is solved. It's better than to go home and then come. So that's why I'm here.
Is this your first time trying to register a business?
No, this is not my first time. I think this is the second time I've been here. But I think I've been here for the past 1.5 hours. So maybe, if not because the system was down, probably maybe I would have been gone by now. But the system is down, so...
And for you, is today your first time here?
I was here last year. That was December. The link going down, this and that, and then I suspended it, and I have to start from Monday. Then today I am here because of the link. They've been working for some time. They will break and they will tell you that the link is down. You have to wait, or you either go and you come back the next day. That is what we are on.
Right. Benjamin, yes. So it's been about 5 years at Post? Yes. What is it? By the grace of God. By the grace of God, obviously. What has it been like? I mean, in a nutshell, what has the experience been like? First acting and then becoming substantive Registrar General.
I must say exciting, because it gives you an opportunity to carry out your vision and mission, what exactly you want to turn the registry into. I still haven't reached what I want the registry to be like. I still haven't attained that level. But definitely, once you are the head, it gives you an opportunity to carry out what you really want to do in the organization. So, and it's also been stressful, because it's not everybody that wants to go along with you. Some will want to pull you down to ensure that you fail.
Even here?
Yes.
Even within?
Yes. Some within will want you to fail. Some don't like you. It's not every leader that is liked. Some would want certain old things to be done, compliance with certain things. They are not too happy. Some will also support you. Some also encourage you. Some also come and advise you that things are going wrong. Look at it the other way. As a leader, you have to listen to both ends and ensure that the department is at the best end at the end of it all. So they are both a hive of.
Okay.
There's going to be a hive.
Oh, right. So you're taking
Yeah, the new office of the Registrar of Companies, that will be focused on companies, on businesses, on partnerships, on professional bodies, on insolvencies. So there's a new level also coming.
Okay. So this hiving off, is it going to add more work to your plate, or would it actually mean that part of what is under your jurisdiction now will be shifted to another institution?
The Registrar General will oversee marriages, administration of estates, and industrial property rights. But the new Registrar of Companies will oversee businesses, that is companies, and partnerships, business names, professional bodies, insolvencies. That's what I meant. So there's going to be more focus, and of course that should come with better face for our clients. Once you're not doing too much at the same time. Whoever is a Registrar of Companies will have to concentrate
on that. How soon are we looking at this?
As I said, it depends on when the board is sworn in. Once the board is sworn in, that aspect will take off. I'm trusting before the first quarter of this year.
Right. Before we get into, just share a few of them with us. I mean, the future of the Registrar Generals, some of the things we should look forward to.
Definitely, we will need a new software.
Okay.
That should take care of all the services that have been mentioned in the Companies Act. The new Companies Act requires us to register.
Extant software you're using.
No, it didn't take care of that. It also didn't take care of mergers of companies, acquisitions, arrangements, such like, and these are new areas in company life.
Right.
So you need new software to take care of all that. It should be registered within a day. Currently, it's not happening. We wish it would happen, but it's not happening.
Right.
And so we're trusting that within a day we should be able to register, but you pay a bit more for that. We will come out with more. Businesses who really want to be known as doing serious business in Ghana must really get their house in order, because we want a register that is credible, readily accessible, and accurate. Because currently the register we have,
it appears in Ghana we have so many of these. It's ghost names or now ghost companies and all that.
The register, and they are not carrying on any business. So we need to really tighten that angle, and then interested in carrying on business should ensure that they file their annual returns on time, file their financial statements, and renew their business names or partnerships. You know that most business names have never been taken off the system, but you have some sitting on as long as 20 years.
Wow. I was even about to ask you, how long have it? 20 years, and they're still on the books.
Never renewed it, yes, but we've taken, the provisions of the Act, and so we're taking them out. So if you know that you have a business name is just 60 Ghana cedis to 222#. You don't
Right.
need to come to our offices to renew the business
Right.
name. Just use it on your phone and renew the business and let it be in good standing. Because when we go through the register and we see not in good standing, have you renewed, you start taking it off.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's it again? Star 222 hash.
Yes, you can renew your
Years.
But that is very bad. Look at those who were registered from 1963.
Whoa.
That is when the department started. To 2011, when we automated our processes, you have some old companies there
Right.
that have never filed returns, and those are the ones that want to be re-registered, to comply with the act. Not that we're going to change your registration date. No, that information on the company. And that would mean you filing returns, giving us the tax identification numbers or the NIA numbers of your directors.
Right.
Would you believe that some don't even have documents?
They don't
They are
have.
relying on us to give them their constitution, or they are really not doing much business in Ghana.
So this is pretty curious, and of course I know at this point in time we're using information technology to perform all of these processes. So it's interesting that even as far as right from the GNA and going down, there was a long queue of cars, and I was just wondering, okay, so what is happening? What's the process of registration? How quickly are you able to manage the process of registration?
To come to the office to register.
Oh.
You can register from wherever you are, but I acknowledge that it's not user-friendly.
Oh, I see.
That is why possibly our customers or clients,
okay.
Before you come, you should have downloaded the forms and filled it. All the forms are on the website. And you can also register online by you as a portal user. So you can register online. You can complete the forms online, scan it in, pay online through the Ghana.gov
platform, right?
Output from wherever you are. So that function is there, but as I'm saying, it's not too user friendly. So what happens then is those who come and work with us, maybe as national service personnel or as youth employment or attachment,
wow.
and they'll rip people off and say, we'll register it for you, and the process takes so much money from you. And so that has to change. We need a software that is user-friendly,
right.
And that is what I'm pushing for. Something that anybody can understand. Because I tried, for instance, to register a business once on the Rwandan portal. It was very easy.
Right. We've had a facilitated process that you enjoyed. Why do you think then that it's taken us so long to make it user-friendly? Because obviously if it were that user-friendly, we wouldn't have seen the queues we saw in terms of your online portal and all of that. That could have been your saving grace.
Everything takes time in the sense that this will be about possibly the third try at it. We started off with one, then the government came out with this GGov project, and that was GCNet,
right.
That was supposed to build, operate, and transfer. So they transferred it finally May of 2021 after running it for 10 years, for the last 10 years. So whatever new solution is being brought would ensure that whatever challenges we had with this will be addressed. And so I believe that it's a better system that will be put in.
So it's still the GCNet,
transferred to us now.
It's been transferred to you. No, but I mean it is what they built that you're still using.
Yes, it's known as the e-Registrar.
Right.
It's a very it's good in the sense that
right.
So at least this is what we have been using, and as long as you're able to give us the right information, you can get it done within a day.
Okay, so
a business name can be registered within 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yes, a company can be registered within an hour. It starts from the data entry clerk. So I'll tell you the process. It starts from the data entry clerk capturing information on the company. It goes to the bank. You pay. It gets the lawyers. We approve. That's all.
And you're good to go.
Yes. So once you approve, but imagine you have about 100 companies sitting in your tray, and you have to examine each application. And that is what could delay the process of approval. So whatever new solution we are bringing would have to make sure that we the attorney, approving every single application. We are moving forward. After we've studied under 10 years with this new system, we should be able to improve on whatever new solution we come with.
Right.
So currently, what we have is what we're using to serve the nation. It's done well for us, at least for the last 10 years.
It's not user-friendly. In terms of GCNet moving off, yes, you mentioned they were supposed to operate and then build, operate, and transfer it to you. Was the transfer done in a rush? That is what some people seem to think, that GCNet was ousted, or the
contract had come to an end, so they just had to transfer.
Right.
It had come to an end. It's not a matter of they were being pushed out. They built it and they transferred it to us, and our IT staff are managing with it. It's not as though they didn't inform us. They informed us.
How many years ago was this when they told you about, when you were taking over?
Within the year before they transferred it to us, but government is now taking steps to replace all those services. So why in the service?
And when we came in, interestingly, right when we came in, there was an issue, and about an hour's delay?
Yes. No, that's a different, because they're starting everything. It's not that every day it's an hour's delay. No. Once you start it, it's able to serve us at least. So a client down there
would have to wait for a while.
Yeah,
right?
would be stressed, but it will come up and will finally move on. It's better than nothing.
Better than nothing.
Yes.
At least when it comes back, it's for purpose.
To replace all the servers and the switches. So I believe that before the end of the year, we'll have a better system.
And at least the long, winding queues.
Yeah.
It was interesting because coming up, not just at the main gate.
Say this: the law, the Companies Act, has specifically stated within 2 years there should be no walking.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So we are pushing for that. But as I told you, you need a system that is intelligent, where businesses are done. For instance, in Singapore, within 30 minutes, you have a certificate. They built the system with all the rules that the lawyer could look out for. So you really need to make sure that that kind of system is in place. But currently, what we have, you need a human interface more. And as I'm saying, it could delay the process of approval. Paid, it comes to the lawyer at the touch of a button. You check everything is okay. You approve. Right. You get the certificate with the signature already on it. You get the profiles. You print it out. So within 30 minutes to 1 hour, one company is registered. But because of the human interface of having to check everything, that's what I mean.
So quite some issues in there, and we all hope for the resolution of these. But in the interim, the inconvenience is causing to people who would register.
I'm apologizing to our clients. I'm sincerely I am in fact, but with what we have, we are going to ensure that we serve them to the best of our ability, and as long as they bear with us, before the end of the year, I believe that the service will improve far better than it is. The car park and the long winding queues, no. It should be such, as I told you, with a new solution where you should sit wherever you are, go through the process and get your documents.
Right.
Yes, we'll get there. It's one of my registry, where you're doing business, you say they are number 1 on the doing business ranking. Yes. My desire is that RGD or the business registry should have that kind of system. Within 30 minutes, 1 hour, you have the certificate.
This kind of feedback that it's the service, but some believe there's something beyond the service. Is it purely the service that are the problem?
I think it's the system. Once it's replaced, everything should be okay.
Right.
And I've assured you that government has done. So once the servers are replaced, there shouldn't be any other problem. What other problem were they thinking?
Well, they suggest that, it could be something beyond the service, but they are not getting, accurate information on that.
It's a system we are working with, and the IT maintenance we are carrying out. We have a disaster recovery site as well in Ho.
Okay.
You have our staff there 24/7. You have the data center being run by the IT staff as well, and so they are doing the utmost best.
How dire is that, the need for replacement? Because in the interim, it's also causing loss to the state. And I mean, in terms of money, if people are not able to register their businesses, but it takes quite a bit of time. Someone may even be put off and just give up.
No, it's still better than nothing. I believe that as long as we're able to restart the service as often as we do during the day, targets for last year, despite.
What was the target?
It was supposed to be about 116 million, and we achieved over 111 million. So just by 5 million.
5 million.
From the same things that are not doing that well. So it's not as dire.
Your targets.
Definitely. But it's all a question of money.
Right.
It's a question of money. Unless FM is prepared to help.
About how much would it take to revamp the system as you know it? I'm sure you've done the... Right.
But it would be quite expensive. So unless Joy is prepared. But government is supporting us.
Right.
Is supporting us. So I'm assuring my various clients and customers that before the middle of the year.
Before the middle of the year.
Yes, seriously. I'm
really by June, dear. By June,
things should have changed.
Things should have changed.
Because it's now going through procurement. So
okay.
By June, things should have changed. So they should just bear with us. I know it's not easy, but we are there for them.
Is it going to be a Ghanaian entity or a foreign one?
It's
right.
Procurement.
It's too early to get
It's too early, yes. Yeah. But definitely to be changed. The switches and everything will change.
Right.
I wouldn't know who wins the contract. At this stage, no.
Okay.
I wouldn't. So just be assured.
Well, we're grateful that you joined us for the conversation. Maybe your parting words? What we look forward to?
Able to achieve all we have put out to do for the year 2022.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Jemima Wari, for joining us for the conversation this afternoon. And we wish you the very best.
I wish you the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I do hope you have children at home who do say the darndest things.
Well, there are so many of them, in fact. But thank you so much. And right before we draw the curtains on today's AM show, something big is coming. The way you listen to multimedia's radio stations is about to change. You must get ready for it. If you're using a smartphone running on Android, just activate your Google Assistant now and get ready to ask multimedia for a whole new experience. Now, to do this, look for the Google app on your phone. It's the multicolored letter G. Open it and press your display photo or initials on the top right. Go to settings, find Hey Google and voice match and open it. Voila! Make sure Hey Google is enabled by tapping on the switch until it turns blue. You may have to record your voice so your Google Assistant can identify you anytime you speak. Now, you're ready to ask multimedia. And that's the way to go. So with your Android device, get hooked. My name is Benjamin Akako. This Thursday, Measly Echo Sam, my producer, and everyone else who makes this show possible. Do stay with us. At 10 and at noon, we'll bring you our major news bulletins for the day. Do have a wonderful day.